Welcome to the final edition of the Giants Training Camp Report, brought to you by Investors Bank. I'm Bob Papa, along with Super Bowl champion Shaun O'Hara at the Quest Diagnostics Training Center. We've got a big show coming up for you. We're going to hear from Markus Golden. We're going to dive into the Giants secondary, some of the new acquisitions. And Shaun, I mean, this has been a lot of fun, although it's been a different kind of circumstance. But the work that's being put in every day on this practice field has been pretty impressive, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been. It's been fun to see the crescendo of work. You know, when we first started doing these shows, they weren't really even in pads. They were just starting to get acclimated. And it's been a unicorn of a preseason for the players and the coaches all around. And I think when you look at these players, these practices have become so much more vital and so much more important for each one of these players to show what you can do. And a simple one-on-one drill that maybe just in the past would be you trying to learn a new technique or a new craft. No, you're getting evaluated on that because there are no preseason games. So every rep in practice is just as important physically as well as mentally.
Yeah, and the Giants with 2 scrimmages inside of MetLife Stadium trying to replicate game-like conditions because, Shaun, we could talk about, you know, the safety protocols and how this whole off-season didn't happen and training camp and the OTAs to begin training camp and everything else. But the bottom line is the rosters have to get cut this weekend. And there are going to be decisions that have to be made. Do you think they have enough information at this point to make those hard decisions?
I think most teams probably have, you know, their 45 guys that they know are definitely going to make the team. And then there's probably 6 or 7 that are, you know, in between. They're on the fence. So a lot of times in the preseason games, that's where maybe one of those guys on the bubble would have a chance to make a play that says, you know what, man, we've been waiting for him in practice to make that play. He finally made it in the game. Now that gets him over the hump. And then special teams is another factor in that. So that's why it was great for a lot of these Giants players to be able to go into MetLife with you and Carl calling the game action and have real kickoffs and kickoff returns and real punt coverage. A way to show your versatility and to show that, hey, I can do something other than offense and defense.
Yeah, and this is a unique circumstance that all 32 teams in the National Football League are dealing with as we get closer to the start of the regular season. Giants general manager Dave Gettleman had a chance to address the media on Wednesday, and he talked about creating a roster under these unique circumstances.
A lot of people have worked very hard to get the roster to this point. And I think we've obviously got young players that are continuously developing, you know, so Delvin has gotten better every year. We're looking for Dexter to improve. You're looking for all those young kids to improve. We've also got some veterans that, you know, have skins on the wall and can help those guys develop, help those guys become, you know, team players. So, you know, I just feel like, you know, the roster is going to be, you know, competitive. And you can, it's going to have the ability to win games.
You know, Dave talked about the fact that, you know, practice squad is going to be important, expanded practice squads. For the first time, veteran players can be on the practice squad. Teams are going to need that because you don't know what's coming down the road as far as the testing is concerned, and you've got to make sure that your roster is fortified enough to deal with any kind of situations you're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, probably the word that we've heard, you know, ad nauseum is versatility. And all these players, you've got to have versatility. And now to have that versatility with the roster, to not just have rookies and first-year players on the practice squad, to have a guy that has some game action and game experience, that's vital and that's crucial because, as you mentioned it, the contingency plans for week 2 or week 3, if you have a couple players on a Friday, they get popped, and now all of a sudden you have to rotate guys. It allows for opportunity for guys to be activated and then from the practice squad to the active roster and then go back to it. So it's been a great contingency plan and great change by the league, and I think it's going to benefit a lot of these young players that are still trying to hone their craft.
One of the biggest moves the Giants made in the offseason was to bolster their linebacking core, and that includes Blake Martinez, who talked about this unique start to the season.
Pretty much every year, the first 4 games of the season are kind of a crapshoot in general on what teams are going to do, whether it's new offensive coordinators or a new type of philosophy offense-wise. But I think going into this year, I think we talk about it a bunch, is going to come down to our overall kind of knowledge of football, whether it's situations, fundamentals for each position. And as long as we have those things down, you can kind of have the ability to adjust on the fly and see the certain things that teams are doing to either start the game and make those adjustments as the game goes on.
You know, what Blake Martinez was talking about kind of falls right in line what Joe Judge is all about. Cross-training, understanding a lot of different roles, and having a good football IQ. And Shaun, I would think, especially in this first month of the season or so, teams are going to beat themselves just by not being smart. And the smarter you are will overcome a lot of scenarios.
Yeah, certainly the football intelligence is a big part of Blake Martinez's game. He's got great instincts, but those aspects of the fundamentals, the not giving up the big play, those are all things that you can control from a mental standpoint. I think a couple of things that have jumped out during this whole training camp, during the live portions of practice, the amount of work that goes into the blocking and tackling fundamentals, the drills. The drills that they're running out here are drills I've never seen before, but they make so much sense when you see both the offense and the defense working together and on two different sides of the field. So they've been very efficient, and I think that's really gonna play into the week one matchup when you start doing it live. Now all of a sudden it's not new to you. So it's a big part of that, and certainly for Giants fans, they don't want to see this team beat themselves. They want to see good, sound football, and it's really been back to the basics like we knew. As soon as they hired Joe Judge, that was going to be his mission number one.
We're just getting started on the program. We're going to take a look at the Giants secondary. Plus, we'll hear from Markus Golden and sights and sounds from Training Camp 2020 here on the Giants Training Camp Report. Introducing the official Giants checking account, only from Investors Bank. Get the checking account that lets you score big. Giants Training Camp Report is driven by the Hess Toy Truck. The 2020 Hess Minis and first ever plush toy trucks are available now, with the 2020 Holiday Hess Toy Truck coming November the 2nd, exclusively at HessToyTruck.com.
Pickle juice got a little tang to it. Woo! It's doing good though. It's gonna be a good day. I feel it.
Yeah, baby!
We're back here on the Giants Training Camp Report, presented by Investors Bank, and we heard the DBs inside the huddle. And obviously, Shaun, James Bradbury was the big acquisition this offseason. We'll get into him in just a second, but the Giants adding Logan Ryan, a veteran presence, a guy who's won championships, was in a successful program in New England, Tennessee. Now he comes to the Giants. I know you're happy because he's a Rutgers guy.
You know it. Are you raw?
Beyond the Scarlet Knight connection, you couldn't find a more perfect fit for the Giants.
No, Bob, he's a phenomenal football player. He's accountable. He doesn't come off the field. He played 99% of the snaps last year for the Tennessee Titans. He was their leading tackler, too. So he could play all over the defensive backfield. He could play slot corner. He could play safety. He could play outside. He's a great matchup if you want to put him on a tight end as well. So I love the pickup of Logan Ryan. Here's the other thing, too. Phenomenal tackler. And this guy does not miss an open space, and he's a great blitzer. When you look back at what he did with the New England Patriots earlier on and then Tennessee Titans, he was their number one blitz nickel corner, and every time he blitzed on a slot, it seemed like a sack. So in addition to all that, 8 turnovers he created, 4 interceptions, 4 forced fumbles last year. So no doubt this is a huge addition. I think it gives the Giants a lot of versatility. You could put him outside and have Darnay Holmes in the slot, or you can move Darnay outside and have Logan Ryan in the slot. So this is a great pickup for the Giants. I think also that accountability, that leadership, not just in the cornerback room, but defensively, that championship culture is going to be big. And anytime you bring a Scarlet Knight onto the roster, it increases your chance of winning a Super Bowl. We've got an unbelievable streak going. So Logan Ryan, yeah, he's coming back to Jersey. He gets to play and complete the trifecta at all 3 levels right here in Jersey.
Yeah, you're one of the guys that is an RU grad that won a Super Bowl. So just to circle back to the start of all this, James Bradbury, we've had a chance to watch him up close, watch him go to work every day. Your impressions now that you've had a chance to see Bradbury in person as opposed to playing for the Carolina Panthers, you know, whenever you got a chance to see him?
Yeah, I've been very impressed with how physical he is and how much he challenges receivers at the line of scrimmage. You know, when you looked at film of him last year and you looked at what he's done in his career down in Carolina, the NFC South is a tough division with a lot of big-time receivers. Think about it. Michael Thomas with the Saints twice, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans down in Tampa Bay. You've got Atlanta with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. So every single week he was playing in his division, he was covering the top dog, and he was the guy that traveled with those guys. Only gave up 2 touchdowns all last year. So I think what he's done in training camp is show these young guys how it's handled. He's really good with his hands, doesn't back off of anybody, and he's shown great recovery speed as well.
One of the things that helps a secondary is a good pass rush. When we come back on the program, we'll hear from Markus Golden here on the Giants Training Camp Report presented by Investors Bank. Giants Training Camp Report is driven by the Hess Toy Truck. The 2020 Hess Minis and first ever plush toy truck are available now with the 2020 Holiday Hess Toy Truck coming November 2nd, all exclusively at HessToyTruck.com. The Giants continuing their preparations to the start of the 2020 season as we welcome you back to the Giants Training Camp Report presented by Investors Bank. One of the big surprises last year was Markus Golden. Signed on a 1-year deal, he wound up getting double-digit sacks for the Big Blue, and he's back for a second year. For more, let's send it over to Madeline Burke.
Joining me today is Markus Golden, who's coming off a 10-sack season with the New York Football Giants, the first Giants linebacker to do that since LT. Pretty big company. So, Markus, I got to ask you, Giants fans are wondering, are you ready to do that again this year?
Yes, I'm ready to get out there and do whatever I got to do to help the team win, man. So, of course, I'm ready to get after the quarterback for you guys. That's something I'm always bringing, something I'm always make sure I do.
Now, this has been a very unique training camp. New coaching staff, pretty new group as well. A buzzword that we're hearing a lot is fundamentals. So how would you describe how this group is coming together over training camp?
We're coming together real well, especially as a defense. It's totally, man, it's been great. As a team, too. It's everybody working fundamentals. You can tell everybody the urgency to get better and get right at everything we do for us, even in my position, for us, putting hands where they're supposed to be, and pass rush, stopping the run, everything, man. You can just tell that. So that's been the main word, fundamentals. Everybody been trying to get out there and do their job at the best of their ability.
Now, usually this time of year, you've got preseason games to kind of give you different looks and different things to prepare for. But there are no preseason games this year. How do you guys keep it fresh and break up the monotony as you're facing your own teammates week in and week out?
Yeah, I thought it was myself. I thought we was gonna come in. It was gonna be easy, but as you get to going, man, you want to be able to get out there and go against somebody else and hit against some other guys. So it was kind of weird at first, but man, we've been doing exactly what we can do just to kind of make it seem like we're in preseason games, like we had the big scrimmage that felt like a real game, and we've been going at it in practice. We've been competing against each other, talking a lot of crap back and forth. So that's been making it fun. But you had your days where you be like, dang, I wish we could play against somebody else.
Now, competing against this Giants offense, I got to ask you, some of these young guys on the other side of the ball, Matt Peart, Andrew Thomas, what are your early impressions of them?
Oh, they look good, man. They some hard-working young guys, and both of them been out there working hard, giving it they all every day. Even going up against them, and they ask me a lot of questions, what they can do better, how they sets looking. So I got a lot of respect for those guys, and look forward to seeing them do what they get out there and do this year.
Are there any tips that you can share with us that you're having between offense and defense, kind of sharing trade secrets?
Nothing really that big. It's just getting out there and competing every day. And like I said, there's a lot of guys asking each other what we can do to get better. A lot of crap talking, a couple pushes and shoves, but nothing too big like that. Just regular football stuff. But most of all, man, this has been one of the best camps as far as competing. Just getting out there and competing with each other and really trying to win today. So it's been a battle, man. It's been a real rough and tough camp. I look forward to carrying that over to the season.
And you're talking about, like, the competition and the level of energy. We hear how excited the defense, especially, is getting on the sidelines. How would you describe this group of pass rushers, though? It seems like there's a lot of different skill sets in that room. Yes,
you got a lot of different skill sets in the pass rusher room, but most of all, it's a bunch of guys that want to work together and want to get after the quarterback any way we can. And you got Zoe, he's working real hard. X-Men, of course, he's working hard. And Fact, he's here working hard. And even the two rookies, Cam and Carter, they working hard too. So it's a lot of guys in there just doing whatever we got to do to get better every day, asking each other questions, learning from each other like always. So I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of the group, and I'm excited just to be able to take the field with them, especially when the games start.
Now, you mentioned Zoe. Lorenzo Carter has been getting a lot of praise during this training camp. What have you noticed out of him in his growth just from last year to this year?
I say it's first his confidence. He just seemed like he's more confident and he know exactly what he got to do, and then he know exactly what he want to do out there. I mean, he's talking about the way he want to rush, and then he's going and carrying over to the practice field. So that's a big step. When you study yourself on film and say what you want to get out there and do, then you go out to the practice field and actually make sure you get out there and do everything we was talking about. So that's what he's making a big step at, man. And I love seeing him get out there and dominate.
All right, Markus Golden, thank you so much for taking the time today, and best of luck this season.
All right, thanks a lot for having me.
Well, for sure, the Giants would certainly sign up for 10 more sacks from Markus Golden in 2020. When we come back on the program, sights and sounds of Training Camp 2020 here on the Giants Training Camp Report, presented by Investors Bank. Giants Training Camp Report is driven by the Hess Toy Truck. The 2020 Hess Minis and first ever plush toy truck are available now, with the 2020 Holiday Hess Toy Truck coming November the 2nd, all exclusively at HessToyTruck.com. Joe Judge talks about getting down and dirty, and he certainly did, as we welcome you back to the Giants Training Camp Report presented by Investors Bank. And Shaun, I love the fact that the coach has got his mask on and he's sliding in the wet turf and mud, getting his hands dirty.
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, we talked about the new drills that they bring and that Joe Judge has brought to the Giants. This is fun. This is a fun drill. And as many times you do drills that you say, why are we doing this? This makes perfect sense. All right, the fumble recovery drill. And of course, you get to have a little fun and let your players hose you off. Who wouldn't love hosing their coach off with a little water?
Yeah, certainly.
Maybe you and I should get out there and try it. I don't know if Big Rob would like that, but
I don't know, but that's what happens when you have a young head coach, right?
Yeah.
A lot of energy, participating in the drill and having fun with his team. With that said, it is time to take a look at the sights and sounds of Training Camp 2020.
Goddamn time. I want to thank y'all for having me. Feel good today.
Okay. Just another day, baby.
Hold him. Feeling like $1 million, baby.
I know y'all ain't got me on camera.
Knock this down! Knock this down! Put that on the field! There we go! Hell yes, Nick! Take him up!
Obviously, the players had fun. There was a lot of hard work. There were a lot of things that had to be followed. And Shaun, you know, you got to tip your cap to the entire Giants staff, organization, the medical department, using MetLife Stadium, using the Quest Diagnostics Training Center to stage this training camp and do it in the safest, most compliant way that you could possibly do it.
yeah, I think the fact that we've seen the success for both the players and the coaches and the entire staff, them being safe. Certainly kudos to everybody around. I know Ronnie Barnes, I talked to him right before training camp started. This man was pulling all-nighters just to handle the protocols and everything that they needed to get in place to start training camp. So certainly a big shout out to everybody that had their hand in that. And now it's not time to relax. It's time to get even more vigilant. But certainly the fact that the season is here, I know everybody's excited.
Yeah, and it's going to get real starting on Sunday and Monday once they make those cuts. And the players are going to ramp up that intensity level even more, aren't they?
Yeah, the sense of urgency is what comes to mind the most. All of a sudden now, all right, preseason's behind you, the preseason games and the scrimmages are done. This is real. Now this is live football. It's 60 minutes too. All right, you've got to be ready and conditioned to win the game in the fourth quarter. Of course, you got to get the game there with the opportunity to win. But I think the tackle is going to be huge. The conditioning is a factor. But now the excitement starts to come along. And for young players, if you're a rookie that's just making this team, the one thing that I, as a rookie, heard from Chris Palmer was, hey, look, you don't relax. Don't be happy that you made the team. Now you've got to earn that spot week in and week out because there's still transition going to be going on these first couple of weeks. So September is here, finally. We've got football. And now as a player, man, you get to tackle somebody on the other team on Monday Night Football. I've got goosebumps right now. I wish I could go out there and tackle somebody.
He's ready. We hope that we got you ready throughout the course of the summer. Give me a little air high five because I can't really. Boom.
Shout out, by the way, to the Moroccan loafers that have made an appearance in every show. They are the MVP.
That was before COVID-19. For Shaun O'Hara and our entire crew, I'm Bob Papa. Thanks for joining us for this final edition of the Giants Training Camp Report, brought to you by Investors Bank.